Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. It's just me, Chris, by myself again for this very quick intro. Nick is still preoccupied as him and his wife expect the birth of their first child. So I'm going to keep this brief. But I think brief intros are a good thing for podcasts, right? I was listening to Maron's episode with David Baddiel today, which is completely worth a listen, but it doesn't have Baddiel come on to about 27 minutes into the episode. Come on, what's that about? Not the case with this today. I'm just going to say two quick things before we jump into it. Firstly, if you're a fan of this podcast, if you listen regularly, please do us a favor and just post about us, tweet about us, tell all your friends that you think might be into the kind of music that we cover. And secondly, go and check out Love Breakers' latest single, Isolation Summer. That's Love Breakers, all one word. Just Google Love Breakers. Give them a follow on their social media. I know we talk about them a lot on the show, but hey, we love them, so we're going to continue doing it. But anyway, on to today's episode. So I had the pleasure of chatting to Blake and Brompton from the band Action Adventure, who've just released their first full length on Pure Noise Records. So go and look at the notes of this episode and check that out. And let's just dive straight into it. All right, see you next time. Who have I got here? Is it Blake and Brompton?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks so much for giving me some of your time, guys. Massively appreciate that. So you both, well, I should introduce myself first as well. Very rude of me. So I'm Chris. I'm based, I'm just outside of London in the UK. The show normally has two of us. I normally have a co-host. But his wife is due to have their first child. I think it was 2 days ago. So he's got a lot going on. So I'm doing a few solo interviews at the minute. Blake, you were just telling me before we start recording, you're based in Chicago. Are you in Chicago as well, Brompton?
Yeah, we're all in Chicago. We're the surrounding areas.
And at the time we're speaking, your record's just come out. Well, less than a week ago, I think. Came out last Friday, right?
Yep.
7 years as a band, first full length out. How are we feeling about it?
It's cool that it's out finally.
Right.
It definitely it feels like it took us a long time to get here, but yeah, it's a good feeling that it's out. It's pretty great.
Who did you work with on this one? Did you have a hands-on producer? I was looking at the credits when I was on Tidal. It just had your names listed. So who did you work with on this?
We were at Always Be Genius Studios with Seth Henderson. It's also who did Pulling Focus with us, the previous EP. Yeah. Great dude. Love working with him. It's pretty awesome.
And how's it been received? I know it's only early days, but we're getting some good feedback.
So far, so good.
Yeah, the initial feedback seems to be really good. I mean, people seem to be really liking it. Lots of cool, story mentions and DMs and stuff like that. So
that must be fun to see.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
How long did you spend tracking this album?
Probably we did it over 3 weeks, right? Blake, okay. I think it was
that sounds about right. It was a while because a lot of us were in and out and not even there the whole process, and it all happened so fast. I remember even Seth was 10 songs in this amount of time. That's crazy. But we buckled down and prepared, so this is what we got, which just adds to the craziness of the process.
I think we did it in 14 days, so we didn't include weekends in the tracking time, but
right.
Yeah, it was three Monday to Fridays, or 2 Monday to Fridays, and then we just finished it up on that last Thursday, I think, and that was it.
It's impressive to do it in that amount of time because the sound you guys have, there's a lot of technical stuff going on, a lot of different layers going on and stuff. So, I can imagine some of those songs would take some time to do. So that's impressive. I mean, when you're doing it with someone like a Pure Noise, do you kind of presumably they book that time for you and say we're putting this back in behind it? So do you kind of find that pressure from them? It's they've booked us this time, so we've kind of got to get it done. I suppose in the same way, when you're funding it yourself, you're okay, I've only got X amount of time.
I think we definitely felt that pressure this time. It was the first time, we've ever done anything with the label support, and we were just kind of oh, we don't want to mess this up.
do you really feel the difference when you've got label support like that when you're making a record? Does it feel nicer?
Definitely both. It definitely feels nice to have the support, but at the same time, it's like, wow, we have to like answer to people beyond the five people in this band. So, but they've only been supportive, but it's definitely a feeling of both like excitedness, but also we felt the pressure for sure.
And is there an element of like when the tracks are finished and you show them, are you kind of nervous to make sure they kind of give them the green light, or they do they do that at the demo stage, or does it happen at both?
So I think they wanted more demos from us, and more, kind of just like progress checks as we were writing the record,
right.
And we just kind of didn't give it to them.
Really?
Yeah, we were just kind of like, oh well, it's not done yet, so they're not going to really it's not going to translate well.
Okay.
Or like we were concerned with that, which is pretty typical of us. I feel like we do stuff like that all the time, even though we should probably not be like that.
Yeah.
But they definitely trusted us and just kind of said, all right, well, the time is booked, so I guess you haven't really sent us any demos or anything, but let's go. And then we went in and, we got our Seth is really quick. We got our first mixes, or like rough mixes, pretty much within like 2 or 3 weeks. Just kind of.
Man. Okay. Yeah.
Like, here's everything at acceptable volumes. We'll take a break, listen to this for a couple of weeks, and we'll come back and we'll actually start the rounds of mixing and revisions. And, so it was nice to be able to, give the label something and be like, hey, look, we actually did do it.
Were they pretty positive straight away with that stuff?
They were cool. They were cool with it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, nice. So that's all happening. You've got that coming out, and you've just come off tour with Armour for Sleep and Hawthorne Heights. That tour recently wrapped up. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How did that go down? Those bands treat you well?
It was sick.
It was awesome. I was actually texting Mark, their Hawthorne's bassist, last night, which is crazy because it's just like these are people we grew up, listening to and stuff, and it's just like, now we'll just randomly like, oh hey man, what's going on?
Now that you're pals, that's got to be a surreal thing, and I want to get into that a little bit because obviously you guys have been on some pretty impressive tours since things have started to take off for you. I guess like the way we normally do these shows, like we just want to talk a little bit about the history of the band and stuff and like how things started. So if it's cool, I'll dive into that a little bit. So I think I mentioned before, like, cause I saw a post you said like you mentioned the band's been together 7 years. That's why it's exciting to have this full length out. So we're going back 7 years. So you formed this band sort of around 2015. What were things like at that time? Had you guys had you been in other bands previously, or like had you been on like prominent on a certain scene, or was this kind of like the first band for most of you guys?
It was a pretty interesting story. So it was actually like 2014. Wow, so that's like 8 years now. I think it was 8. Almost 9. So
decades,
yeah, it's pretty wild. So me and Oren and Adrian have been playing music together since we were in high school. So it's been about 17 or 18 years at this point.
Okay.
Manny is, or at the time, well, he's one of our best friends now, but at the time he was, we met him through Oren's wife's friend from college. Okay. So we just kind of, connected like that. And we were looking for a vocalist, and Adrian was like, I'm going to put an ad on Craigslist. And we put the ad, or he put the ad on Craigslist, and it was extremely vague, and it just said 20-somethings looking for singer. That's it. Nothing else.
Nothing. And, no reference to the sound or anything.
It was like a rough SoundCloud link, and at the time there was like rough demos, like just like and I remember like the story is like I sent Adrian, who's our drummer, who if you know him, he's like one of the worst dudes to conduct this, but it was funny. So I sent him like my whole resume. I'm like, hey man, here's like all the bands I've been in, some tracks that I've been involved with, blah 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 blah. And he responds like, tight. just one word is like tight. I'm like, oh, okay, dude. So we like get into contact, and I drive, 45, 50 minutes to try out with these dudes, and here we are 8 years later. But worked out. Kind of one of the few successful Craigslist stories.
So when that kind of came together finally, like what kind of music were you all listening to in sort of 2014?
Pretty much the same stuff that we listen to now. I feel like, a lot of the same stuff. Like there's a lot of pop punk and emo and metalcore, and we all have really like eclectic music taste. So we all listen to like a very wide range of music.
What were the kind of some of the big ones for you in the sort of, to start with, in like the pop punk emo kind of stuff? Like,
I mean, the Four Year Strong is like the low hanging fruit. Like, obviously, like and listen to in the music. It's actually funny because when I started hanging out with them, like we started like realizing we've been to the same shows the past like 10 years, just never knew each other, one of those small world. It's like, you were at that show too. It's like, dude, so was I, so that was always funny.
We immediately bonded over Kid Liberty, which was like a kind of really like low-key easy core band from the internet. That was wild. That was crazy.
That's always a quick way to make friends, but it's like, do you know this really obscure band that I think no one else knows? And they're like, yes. And it's like, well, we're best friends.
You mentioned it was quite eclectic. What kind of stuff was in there that I guess people wouldn't expect from your sound?
I don't even know what came out in 2014. I'm like so bad with like the years things came out. I don't know. I'm just a scene kid at heart. So I just listen to a lot of, metalcore and pop punk, and then I also will just listen to really ignorant trap music sometimes. So
right.
It really is just like it's a whole breadth of
it's definitely one of those when people are like, man, your new album reminds me of like what I listened to in high school, and it's like, well, it should, because we only listen to that stuff still. So
love it.
Yeah, anyone, pretty much any heavy hitter from that time, we probably.
Yeah. I'm the same, boys. Like, I kind of, I grew up on that kind of stuff, and I'm going to be 40 in like just over a week. I still listen to all that kind of stuff, so I'm appreciating what you're saying. How old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 33.
29.
So you're the baby in the group, are you?
Yeah. I am the baby of the group, which is always funny because we're always like, we're the old guys of the scene.
What were some of your favorite Chicago pop punk bands growing up? Because I feel like Chicago's, for me, has given me so many bands over like the past 20 odd years. What were some of your favorites?
I mean, we all love Fall Out Boy, like a lot. That's probably a huge influence on us that we don't really talk about very often. But I mean, it's definitely a huge influence for all of us.
Definitely there. That was a song I tried out to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried out to Chicago. So the funny thing was, I was like, oh, do you guys know Chicago? So 2 years ago by Fall Out Boy. So I rolled in, but like I didn't know, and we didn't even think about it, that they were playing in Drop B at the time or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why we were
feeling really weird. It's like, whoa, what is happening here? The vocals are so weird. And I was like, oh, it's the Tuning's different. But yeah, Fall Out Boy is kind of always the go-to. But Chicago's got a laundry list of bands, like Alkaline Trio is another huge one.
Oh, yeah. Alistair, Mest.
I was just going to say, I was going to ask Alistair and Mest as well, so I'm glad you mentioned them. I've had them on the show before.
I'm a huge Mest fan.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. What's your favorite Mest record?
Probably the self-titled record.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, the most recent one they came out with wasn't bad either.
I kind of felt like I quite liked it, but I thought, because it was the original lineup and they did it with Cameron Webb as well, so I was just expecting a little bit more. I felt like the songs not as good as they can do.
I agree with that. I think that they just a lot of time had passed, so things are going to be a little bit different. And once I got over that, I was like, these are actually pretty cool songs, and I like him a lot. Fun fact: when we were on the Hawthorne Heights tour, we played a show in Garden Grove, at like an amphitheater, and it was a huge show for some reason. We don't know why it happened, but it was like Amber Pacific was on it, and
nice.
Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Escape the Fate, Hawthorne Heights, us. And we were watching Hawthorne Heights play. I turned around and like Tony Lovato was just there. I mean, he lives there now, or he lives in Arizona. But like, I was like, why? What are you doing here? It was so random. But yeah, that was cool. I was like, wow, just like high school me's worlds colliding.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. Did you introduce yourself to him?
Not that time. I've like run into him a couple of times around Chicago at shows, so that was been pretty cool. But that particular time, it was like right as Hawthorne was playing Ohio, and everyone like was going crazy, and like they were like, it was like right at the end of the song I noticed, and that was like the last song they played, and so there's a lot of stuff going on, and I was like, no, Tony.
And, So once the band's together, once you were recruited, Blake, like what are those first couple of years like? So, I mean, how long was it before you kind of did anything that resembled a tour? Was it just like playing local shows for a few years?
Like 7 years. No, it's funny because like we definitely did the whole like, record some stuff, play some shows, go on small weekend runs every once in a while.
Yeah.
And kind of ran that gambit for a very long time and kind of worked our way up to where we are now. But yeah, pretty much like we've done the playing empty shows and at home to playing empty shows miles away and hoping you make money for gas and vans breaking down. Like pretty much we've been through the ringer quite a bit, but definitely the last few years have definitely been the most fruitful.
So what was the first proper tour you got on?
The first like real tour, I guess, is it Belmont? Like the first like real one.
I think the first like really long one that we ever like real good tour we did was probably Belmont last December. But I mean, we did a bunch of like cool, like we played this like this like internet group festival a couple times in North Carolina, and we did some tours around that. We did like a Midwest, like down to the South tour in like 2016. I guess that was technically really the first one.
Okay.
Right. That's why it's like we have tours, and he's like the way you phrase the proper tours. So
I see. Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of like DIY tours that were just like kind of booked by us or whoever the headliner was. Lots of house shows.
Right.
Lots of random, small venues that were, it's great. We on that very first tour, we played the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, and we still to this day love going back to Indianapolis and playing the Hoosier Dome. So it's pretty sweet.
How did that leap kind of happen with the Belmont tour? Was someone on their team like taking notice of you guys, or had you guys got yourselves a booking agent who got you on that? Like, I'm always interested in how that big leap happens for people.
We were on Pure Noise at that time.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it was from being signed to Pure Noise.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
We have the same booking agent.
Since then, you've done some pretty cool ones. So there was obviously the Newfound Glory one. That must have been pretty surreal. How was that? Was that as amazing as it sounds?
It's funny. I'm literally wearing a Newfound Glory shirt right now.
Hey, yes.
That was one of those like, hey, a couple dates opened up. You guys want to drive 30 hours to play 3-4 shows? And we're like, yes.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's go.
Oh, that's amazing. How are you liking their new acoustic song?
It's really good.
Cool to see all of them playing too, which I liked a lot. Like in all the videos, it's like, oh, it's not just like one or two of the dudes, like the whole crew's jamming out. And it sounds good.
It's very cool. We've had Cyrus on this show before. He seems like a very cool guy.
They're all really nice. Like everyone was really, really nice, and like they hung out, like they weren't just like on their bus the whole time. Like they literally were just like walking around or hanging out or like watching, like they're like, I watched 4 Year Strong set with Cyrus and Ian one night. And I was nice. Like, is this really happening right now? Like, it's just, you don't expect it to be like that. But no, they were all like super cool, really, really nice. They treated us like colleagues, and it was pretty awesome.
That's cool. And how's the relationship with 4 Year Strong? Because obviously you mentioned them before. Because I mean, listening to your record, I mean, it is an obvious. I think it's fair to say it's an obvious comparison to make, right? You guys clearly wear your fanship of those guys on your sleeves. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Have they heard your new records? Do you know? Like, are you kind of friendly with them after playing shows together? Like,
yeah.
No, they're rad. I just remember like when we first started talking, I'm like, oh, it's like, who do you guys listen to and like rip off and influence? We're like, you guys.
That was an interesting conversation. No, they're really cool dudes. Really, really cool dudes, and it would be great to play some more shows with them, and just kind of be able to hang out. We didn't really get to hang out that much on that run because we only played the 4 dates and we were only on the run for 5 in total. There was 1 travel day, but we definitely, it seems like, made some sort of a friendship there. We're in contact with them semi regularly now. It's pretty cool. Okay. So that's pretty awesome. We saw them when we were Young Fest. We were just there. They were playing.
You guys just went like as fans, basically.
Yeah. And they were like, oh, hey, what's up? We ended up staying at the same hotel as them, which was
okay. Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It was cool. It's cool.
Was it? Yeah. Was that fun? And was that a fun time in general? That festival.
It was weird. It was weird. I mean, the whole Saturday situation was nuts.
Of course.
But I mean, the festival was cool. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of people there. It was a lot, but it was pretty cool.
Did it work? Would you say? I mean, obviously the Saturday was, I guess, couldn't be helped because of the weather and stuff. But did it? Because obviously people were dubious in the run up to it. But from what I heard from people I know who were there, they seemed pretty positive about it.
It did seem to work itself out. There was a lot of like technical issues on Sunday when we were there. Really? But then like when we asked Hawthorne and Armor like about the following week, they were like, yeah, it was cool. It was awesome. So
yeah, I'm trying to work out if I can get myself to next year's one. Because for me, I mean, obviously this year's lineup was cool, but like next year's lineup for me personally and what I'm into, that's just like, it's almost like my perfect lineup for a festival, Just having
it's pretty gnarly for sure. Yeah, it's wild.
Are you just a real quick aside, like kind of related to that? You guys Blink fans? Were you excited by that tour? Are you going to any of those shows?
Well, I mean, I just bought a house, so it was kind of like, do I buy this house or do I buy these Blink tickets?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
those tickets are gnarly. But that said, like seeing like bands like, I think it's Turnstile and Story So Far playing these gigantic venues, like what a crazy time, that's crazy. That's super rad, but kind of like an interesting way to like see how far the scene's kind of come. Cause like those bands are gnarly, but I would never think to be playing like arenas. So that's pretty rad.
Well, Turnstile just got nominated for 3 Grammys. So.
Right? Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insane.
The genre's in a really weird, cool, strange place right now, but yeah. Just to piggyback on the Blink announcement, I was like, whoa, they got that support, which is cool. Cool for Blink.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Brompton, I was saying to Blake just before you joined us that the last person I had on this show was one of the guys from Rise Against, and they're on the Australian leg of that tour. And like just talking to him about it, I was like, they were blown, because he was like basically saying, hey, look, and he didn't say this in an arrogant way, but he's like, we're Rise Against, we don't support anyone anymore. Like we've built our way up to this level.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's Blink, yeah, okay, we can support them.
Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, also, they're from Chicago too. And,
yeah.
So I've seen Rise Against so many times. It's but and like you said, like it's been years since I've ever seen them. I don't think I've ever seen them play before anybody. I've never seen them even be direct support. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
He said they did open for Foo Fighters not long ago as well, and they said that was an exception too. I guess it's only bands on that level they'll open for now, which I guess makes sense.
Definitely.
Apologies if I've missed something, but like, have you announced any upcoming tours? Like now the record's out.
Not yet.
No,
okay,
not yet.
Okay.
There's some stuff in the works, but we haven't announced anything yet.
Okay. So I guess that kind of leads me to my next question. Like, what's life for you guys like outside of the band? Like times like now when you're not on tour, like, do you work full-time jobs?
We work on the road too. Actually,
we work full-time jobs on the road.
We've been going strong, I feel like, since like June, July. So like honestly, after this record came out, it's like the most quote unquote chill my life has been like all year.
Yeah. We so 4 of the 5 of us work remotely. So we actually are able to work while we're on tour. So we're working like during the day on a lot of the drives, or like if we did the drive overnight, we wake up early, work, I'll get off like right before load in, and then it's like, all right, cool, time to take this hat off and put this hat on and, do the band gig. And then after the gig, drive overnight to the next, wherever whatever city it is. But it's cool because we're able to sustain that way. So that's nice.
Partying on the road and doing crazy. I'm like, dude, half our drives are in silence. It's just a moving office. You know what I mean? Because I always say, like, everyone's on laptops and lap desks, just kind of crunching away. But yeah, we're definitely fortunate to have that situation. But it's a grind for sure.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that must take it, as you said before, must take its toll. Like, balancing all of that and doing like a proper full-on X amount of week tour. Like, so yeah, fair play to you guys for making it work. I don't know if maybe this is in the horizon for you guys. If it is, you'll probably not be able to say at this stage. But in terms of UK and Europe, is that somewhere you want to get over in the near future?
It's definitely something we want to do. Very, very badly. We want to do that.
Have you guys been over here like in your personal lives before?
Nope.
No. I also really want to go to Japan. I feel like Japan and Southeast Asia would be cool. Mm-hmm. Let's just go. We just want to go everywhere, honestly. We went to Canada this year and we were like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's so cool. Getting to travel to places and it be with your band and that being the reason why. It's like, that's living the dream, man.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
There was one thing I wanted to ask when we were kind of going through your history. So I'm just going to jump it back just slightly. But so obviously with Pure Noise, which we've mentioned a few times, but like, how did the Pure Noise thing come about?
Pretty much our video on Barricades, our music video for our song Barricades went viral on the TikTok world and did pretty well in the socials, which got us a lot of new eyes and attention.
Okay, so it's more via that route than the kind of all the kind of DIY touring you've been doing.
I'd like to think it's both, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like it was definitely Barricades. Yeah. It got a lot of attention from a lot of the right people, and it just kind of ended up being like a right place, right time type situation. Yeah. And it's kind of, we were lucky enough that it kind of worked out, and it's just been like a really crazy roller coaster ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's cool how it can happen that way these days. Like, it seems to happen with lots of artists. Like, I feel like Magnolia Park ended up on Epitaph before they even really played a show, so it can go that way these days. How do you see yourselves going like in the next 5 years? I guess like it's interesting as well because like Brompton, you mentioned you're 33, you're obviously still a young guy and stuff, but your band's kind of breaking through, I suppose, at a different age to like a lot of other bands would. I don't know if it would be fair to say that.
Yeah, I mean, Oren has a kid, so it's it's there's a lot of interesting challenges that we all face being at this stage in our adult lives. Like I mentioned, Orrin as a kid, both Orrin and I just bought houses. You know,
we're all deep into our full-time jobs too.
Yeah. Everybody has like other, you know, jobs and careers and stuff. And so, yeah, it's definitely like a balancing. It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, in 5 years, I hope that I'm, you know, driving around the country in not a van, a bandwagon with, you know, these 4 dudes and an Emsky. And we, you know, we're, you know, going around and playing shows and doing the same thing that we're doing now, but just scaled up.
Exactly. And
that's pretty much all we want.
And dude, hopefully making it. Yeah, sorry, Blake, go on.
No, you're right. I mean, that's pretty much everything he said. I just like how you acknowledge that, man, because that's like a lot of what I feel like that's a big part of the lyrical content, and a part of like the internal struggles that we have. It's like we're finally doing things we wanted to do as a kid, but man, we're really making up for lost time right now.
Yeah. I feel you boys. Like I manage a UK band. They're about the same age as you guys and doing a similar thing. Like all like working for themselves in the same way that you guys mentioned. And you know, they went out with Social Distortion not long ago on the proper tour, and it's just like one of them's got a kid. It's very, you know, I'm seeing a lot of what I deal with them, so I feel it. You know, I know how it is, and you know, I respect you guys for making it happen at this stage, you know. So I feel like you deserve all these good things that are happening to you, and I'm excited to see where it goes next, really, you know.
Thank you,
man. It's funny because when we were on this last run, we got a phone call and it was like, hey, do you guys want to do this another group of shows like right when you get home? And we're like all sitting in the van in a Target parking lot after we like went and got like all the toiletries and random stuff that we ran out of over the 2.5 weeks. And we're like, can we do it? Can we do it? And we're like trying to, figure it out and make it work. And then there was just literally no way that we could have made it work with, like 7 days notice.
Yeah.
And so, it was a little heartbreaking, but, for the most part, like we did the Newfound Glory run with like almost no notice. We were just like, let's go.
Yeah.
So, there are times where everything just lines up, and it's awesome that, we have, our team working with us and, trying to get us the opportunities and everything. And, they're always super understanding when we can and when we can't do things.
That's good.
But I mean, there are definitely times where it's just like, I don't know how we can, physically possibly do this. Yeah. But like 90% of the time we're like, yeah, let's go. Like, let's just do it.
Awesome. No, that's good. It's good that you're making it work like that. I have so much respect for that. I think unless there's anything you guys want to add, I'll wrap this up in a second. But like, massively appreciate both of your time. Big congrats on how things have gone recently with your band. I guess I'll finish this out with I've got it written here like emergency question. They're not emergency questions. They're just kind of random questions I ask everyone at the end. But it's kind of, there's no kind of logic or structure to them. But I'm just going to kind of fire them at you, and just we'll see what comes out if that's cool with you guys.
Let's do it.
Okay, right. Okay. I should have prepared this one better, so you have to give me a second to think. But the question is, so on our show, I'm going to give you 3 guests that we've had previously, and you only get to keep the music of one of them. So let me just think of. So I was so I knew I was going to ask you guys this question. I thought, do you know what? I'll think of the 3 guests when it happens. But I did think, shall I put 4 Years Strong in there? But I thought, no, I won't, because they'll pick 4 Years Strong as the one they'll keep, I think. So we'll leave them out. So okay, so I am gonna go with Get Up Kids, Menzingers, or Sum 41? You only keep the music of one of those three.
I mean, it's Sum 41 for sure.
41. It's Sum 41. Damn, man, that's hard.
Killer, but I listen to a lot of Sum 41.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I have to say that's the correct answer. No disrespect. I love the Get Up Kids and the Men Singers, and also very nice guys, but none of them wrote Fat Lip, did they? So, you know.
That's a rude ass question. How you gonna do that?
That's true. That's if anyone gets in trouble, it's me though, because it's on me. So on the subject of podcasts, apart from this one, what's the best podcast you guys have done? I mean, I don't know how many if you've done many at this point, but like, have there been any fun ones?
Oddly enough, yeah, we do. You know, every time there's like record releases, we do lots of press, and we actually like ended up becoming friends with this one local podcast to us called Emo Social Club, and the reason that I think that relationship grew is because it was just a really fun like interaction. It was a good conversation, and you know, they've had us on the show a couple of times, and you know, they did like a cool little emo night thing in Vegas, and when we were young, and they like invited us out to that, and yeah, they just ended up, you know, being homies. So I would have to say, for me, the standout one was Emo Social Club.
Emo Social Club for sure. And it's like, what I love about them is that they're like local, like they're from Chicago, and we know Brian and Lizzie, and they were kind of starting up around the time we were. So it almost feels like kind of like when bands come up in the scenes together, or like there's a local thing. So like seeing them in Vegas and like the bands they've gotten, because like they're also a really talented group. It's like, wow, look at us, man, coming up together. So it felt like a really cool kind of that, you know, DIY punk rock. We're all in it together. But yeah, hats off to them too. Emo Social Club, Chicago.
Nice. I feel like they've slipped under my radar. The name doesn't ring a bell because I feel like most kind of podcasts that do this kind of music, I know. Like, have you guys been on Jacques podcast? I think he's Chicago, Pop Punk and Pizza. You guys ever done that one before?
Not yet, but we do know the dudes for sure.
Yes, we have not done it. I don't know why we've never been on it. It just, I feel like the schedule's never worked out. Okay. But that's definitely one that I've always kind of been like, damn, I want to be on that one. I love pop punk and pizza.
It's a no-brainer, and it's local as well. Oh, well, that's good. So Wasting Time got Action Adventure before them, so that's cool. I'm pleased about that. Okay. Have you ever seen a ghost? So I told you these questions were random.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Yeah.
I feel like I've never seen a ghost, but I feel like I've also definitely had like paranormal.
Right. It's like I felt ethereal presences before, but I can't prove to you, Scully, that they exist.
Well, I want to believe.
Right, precisely.
Any
cool stories there? Like anything that's, I mean, you don't have to get into it now if it's.
I mean, nothing that is a quick situation, but I mean, I've definitely felt presences, weird things have happened, and I'm like, yeah, for sure, that's a ghost, like, or a spirit, or, you know, something otherworldly.
What is the most embarrassing moment either of you have had with a celebrity? And when I say celebrity, I mean, you know, someone in our scene who's in a band or whatever. That counts as a celebrity, certainly to the people who'd be listening to this.
There's definitely been some for sure, as we've encountered better heroes.
I try and like not act a fool around people like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Man,
I think it's just more like love bombing our favorite artists sometimes and trying not to.
Sometimes like I'm trying to figure out a way to put this. It's not weird. Okay, so like over the course of, like pulling focus and all this stuff, like I don't know how this happened or anything, but sometimes I have I text Dan from the Wonder Years.
Okay. Yep.
About it started out with like, like just working together on some songs and stuff, and like it's turned into just random things, or like I'll go to a Wonder Years show and I'll be like, oh hey dude, if you have a couple minutes, it'd be cool to say hi, and like he literally always makes time.
Oh, that's cool.
Like every single time makes time to like hang out for a little bit, which is one of the coolest things. Wonder Years is like one of my top 5 favorite bands of all time. Like all of them, and Dan like were like super integral to, just me growing up in the scene, and just like it's a super important band to me. So it was cool because like to have a situation where it's like, oh, you met your hero. And like Wonder Years is a line where like growing up means watching my heroes turn human in front of me. And like Dan is like the coolest fucking guy I ever met in my life. And so sometimes I feel like I get weird and awkward in those situations, and then I look back on it and it's like, well, that was a little strange. Like that was weird. That was a little weird.
Still weird. I always share that with you. It's not really an embarrassing moment, but like we're definitely fortunate enough to like be in contact with some of our heroes, and I still haven't figured out to act normal around him.
Yeah.
Every time he comes up to talk up, it's like super nice dude. He's only been nice, but yeah, I'm like I'm nothing embarrassing yet, but a lot of times I feel like I still don't know how to talk because he's so much influence in him.
I'm trying to avoid that embarrassing moment.
Right.
Like, can we just be friends from work and just be like chill,
Right. It almost like I feel like I should like get it out of the way and be like, bro.
By the way, how good is that most recent Wonder Years record? Well, I thought so anyway.
It's
killer,
absolutely fantastic. It's so good.
It is, isn't it? It's like my favorite one from them for like a decade, I would say.
It's so good, man. It's just, yeah. It's a beautiful record.
No, for sure. And then, so my final question for you guys, bit of a difficult one, putting you on the spot, but what's your favorite record of all time? And if you can't pick one, just give me a few contenders. That'll fly. That'll be all right.
Okay. Blake, you go, because I gotta figure out this.
I mean, I can pick a. Are you gonna pick a couple? Or are you gonna pick one?
I was gonna pick like a few.
Okay, I guess I'll pick 3 that I can just think off the top of my head. I mean, number one is definitely for me is the ups. Let's talk about the Wonders, the upsides.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved. I think to me, Suburbia is their best for sure. But for me, the upside just like came at that perfect time in my life where I was like just getting out of high school or something like that, entering my 20s, and he's talking about, not being. It was just like the message of the upsides and like the whole call and the culture behind it. I remember like growing up during that era and be like, holy shit, I want to do this. And it's funny because I always say, like, talking about the Wonder Years, like if you ever see Action Adventure live, like I just kind of rip what Suki does live, and it's just like, yeah. So that record really was like a sing-along anthem of like my youth. So the upside was killer. To go back under the court, or not, Take This to Your Grave, man. Fall Out Boys, Take This to Your Grave. Like how you always got to include that because it's just like another Chicago pop punk staple, which was like, wow, people from our area are making this kind of music. And lastly, not to hark on it, I guess Rise or Die Trying. 4 Years Strong, man. Another killer record, which again, growing up was like a crazy thing to me because I was like, wow, breakdowns in pop punk, and the music was so energetic and technical. Like there was just so much to like about that record. And, so yeah, I guess those are 3 for sure that kind of resonate with me.
Cool.
So I think, in a similar vein, I will also start out with the Wonder Years. I would have to say it's Suburbia.
Okay.
It just hits, man. Like it's a masterpiece. Like cover to cover. I love how they still do it They did it on Hum and they did it on The Greatest Generation. Like those are the easy ones to pick out. But I love how, you know, the whole record is like it's conceptual, and so a lot of times there are just overarching themes and they all come together in the last song, and so you know, that's awesome. It's just like a perfect record. I love it so much. It's so good. And then I would probably say it's for the number 2 slot. These aren't like in an order,
sure.
But the second one that I want to bring up is Under Oath. I really love both Define the Great Line and Lost in the Sound of Separation. Those are 2 records that are very important to me.
Okay.
They just kind of, it was literally like in high school. It's like 2006 and 2008, and it was like it was like sophomore year and senior year of high school for me, and those are very important records in my shaping my taste in music. And then probably Enemy of the World.
Oh, okay. It's just going for a different for you, strong one. Okay.
It's a great. It's like it's awesome. I love that record, and that's not to say that like Brain Pain isn't as good, or like their new stuff isn't as good. It's just kind of like a, you know, that Enemy, like I fell in love with them on, you know, with Rise or Die Trying, and then Enemy came out, and I was just like, holy shit, this is absolutely insane. I just remember like sitting down and like learning how to play like pretty much the whole record, and it's just like nuts. They play in standard, and I'm still cheating and playing in drop, you know, in drop tuning.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how are you doing these chromatic walks with this chord shape all the way down? Yeah, it's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Did you hear the re-recording of that they put out recently?
It's great, and I love that the bonus tracks were re-recorded. I love that I no longer have to go on YouTube to listen to You Smell Something. I did that for years, and then I sucked it up and bought the record for a third time on iTunes, just so that I could have that track on my phone. So I've now purchased this record 4 times if you include the re-recording. But yeah, great record.
Nice. Yeah, I think we can leave it there, boys. Again, thanks so much for doing this. Yeah, really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing what's next for you guys. Look forward to seeing you over this way, hopefully, in the not too distant future. Eh?
Someday for sure.
We're working on it. We're gonna make it happen.
Nice.